The process. A phase of roster building in the mid to late 2010s by the Philadelphia 76ers. With the golden times brought by Hall of Fame guard Allen Iverson dipping with the sunset, Philly needed a new direction. They found their North Star with the vision laid out by newly hired general manager Sam Hinkie. Hinkie came from a business background, earning his MBA at Stanford and working in the realm of consultations, LLCs, suits, and fancy pens before he dabbed in the sports world. His mind for analytics quickly charted him to the top of the league's wide list of front office candidates, and following the 2012-2013 season, a vacancy appeared in Philadelphia and Hinkie was the man chosen for the job. His view was far-reaching. He laid the groundwork for a team that would not materialize until 5 to 7 years down the line. His goal was to gut the roster and build from the ground up. The team featured an ensemble of talents, most notably all-star guard Jrue Holiday, but in Hinkie's mind, this unit's ceiling would max out well short of championship status. So off went Holiday and anyone the team could remotely think of parting with. What followed was 3 years of unwatchable, garbage bin, bottom-dwelling basketball. The 76ers from 2014 to 2016 had a cumulative record of 47 wins to 199 losses, topped by their legendary campaign in 2015-16, where they won 10 games and lost 72. They started that season in October of 2015 and wouldn't pick up their first win until December. They were fielding lineups with young, unproven players. Starters Jahlil Okafor, Nerlens Noel, and Jeremy Grant were all under 21. Hinkie's tactics were heavily scrutinized by the media as well as his peers. Philadelphia made no efforts to mask their blatant disregard for an immediate turnaround, which was seen as a robotic, spineless, loser's philosophy. What was their response to the criticism? Trust the process. The fruits of Hinkie's labor appeared in the form of franchise cornerstones Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and Hinkie's impact on the 76ers and the league as a whole would greatly outlive his own tenure. Philadelphia added Markelle Fultz, the 2017 NBA Draft's first overall pick, to this team, and all of a sudden they had the brightest future in the association. Fultz would be the skilled javelin. Joel Embiid would fuse his new gen skill set with a style inspired by the legendary big men of yesterday, while the Fresh Prince Ben Simmons was to be the throne's inheritor as promised. Ultimate wallowing for glorious salvation. The team itself did not embrace its own truth. They let Hinkie die on the sword, even though his methods ultimately worked. He's not the architect of tanking, but what Sam Hinkie did with the mid-2010s 76ers, the process, has become the blueprint for the modern day interpretation. Philly embraced the analytical truth. They were at the forefront of this movement. Rather than coast in mediocrity, they accepted the principle that an organization must abide by 3 phases. 1. Actively contending. The teams currently in pursuit of an NBA championship. Think the Boston Celtics, OKC Thunder, even outliers like the Denver Nuggets. 2. Nurturing a contender. Teams who have the talent to make a run or at least are a piece removed from contending, but require either experience or a subtle restructure to push them to the next level. So the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, they're usually younger teams. 3. Rebuilding. Teams who are years removed from competing for an NBA championship and are currently in search of their primary building block or other significant pieces. Think the Washington Wizards, the Toronto Raptors, the Brooklyn Nets. Any franchise that falls off this designated path is forced to stroll through years of stagnation helplessly. This absolutely terrifies organizations. No team desires to be a perpetual 6 to 10 seed, good enough to earn a spot in the postseason, but a miracle short of ever advancing beyond. So general managers walk the tightrope every season, observing whether a championship is at arm's length or too far to ever grasp. And in this NBA climate, where radical roster purges have become the norm, teams jump at the chance to land a franchise-altering talent like the freshman sensation from Duke University, Cooper Flagg. Capture the flag has become the motto for every team south of the 10th spot on the conference standings. The race to the bottom becomes ultra competitive around this point of the season. With less than 10 games to go, every win counts. While playoff teams desperately attempt to secure their placement by winning out, lottery teams avoid winning at any cost. Spotting bad basketball is like spotting the blue in the sky. All you need to do is look. No fans should be subjected to their team's humiliating self-sabotage, so there is no justification for actively debasing the sanctity of competition, right? The draft process has become such a spectacle that fans of losing teams look forward to it as much as they would a playoff berth. The fans aren't wrong. It's factually better to rebuild with higher picks than to constantly reload and hope to hit a home run with a late pick. Wizards fans are a lot happier than Suns fans at this point of the year. But a team can't go out there and just actively forfeit games. The players would never approve this sentiment. Try to tell a bunch of supercharged competitive athletes that they should step on the court and not chase the victory. It's impossible. So organizations devise underhanded schemes in order to reach this goal. Whether it's shutting down players for the entirety of the season due to injuries, playing younger, less talented players while restricting capable veterans, and preemptively substituting starters in close games. The Toronto Raptors egregiously sat their 4 established starters in the fourth quarter of a competitive game against the Orlando Magic a couple weeks ago. When head coach Darko Rajakovic was questioned about this decision, he explained simply that it was a great opportunity to stress test the inexperienced younger guys on the roster. The Utah Jazz aren't even attempting to cover their blatant tanking. Their franchise player Lauri Markkanen, a guy they paid $200 million last season to play basketball, hasn't seen the floor in 2 weeks because of knee soreness. Now, Markkanen hasn't personally disclosed to me any sensitive details about his physical well-being, but something tells me this dude could probably give you 30 minutes on the court right now. And it's not just him. Utah's starting lineup could be a $1,000 question on Jeopardy. Danny Ainge, the Jazz GM, has his eyes set on May, and not the playoffs, the draft lottery. Capturing the flag is a 3-horse race. The Utah Jazz, the Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets, with the New Orleans Pelicans and the Philadelphia 76ers drifting behind. Under the 2019 revamped format, which was implemented to combat tanking, Utah, Washington, and Charlotte would have equal odds at acquiring the number 1 overall pick with a 14% chance each. New Orleans would have a 12.5% chance, while Philadelphia, who were ranked 8th in preseason odds to win an NBA championship, now are ranked 5th in draft lottery odds at 10.5%. That top 5 includes 3 of the most disreputable franchises in the NBA, with the Wizards, Hornets, and Pelicans, the 76ers, who are one of the most dysfunctional, underachieving teams in recent memory, and lastly the Utah Jazz, who are the Utah Jazz. But a prospect of Flagg's caliber can change the trajectory of any franchise. The Milwaukee Bucks had nothing until Giannis Antetokounmpo fell on their laps, and in less than 10 years, they'd summit the mountaintop. Today, the Denver Nuggets are considered a respectable franchise, a model for capitalizing on the talents you've garnered. But their success traces back to one man. That's the level of influence Cooper Flagg can command if he lives up to the billing. If he truly is the next Kawhi Leonard, a future MVP, a future all-time legend, as some have so brazenly labeled him. If that's the case, he will easily become an icon in Utah. He could join LaMelo Ball and become the premier tandem of the 2020s. The acquisition of Cooper Flagg could awaken a wounded giant in Philadelphia. Zion Williamson and Cooper Flagg in the Bayou would wreak havoc on the league. He could forge his own path, become Captain America, leading the team in the nation's capital, and this doesn't include the other 9 teams who still have a chance at acquiring the number 1 pick. Concept of suffering a couple years of setback To have the opportunity to select a timeline shifting prospect is irresistible. Any general manager would be a fool not to be of that mindset. This in turn causes all 30 teams to conform to the 3 phases I stated earlier. And truthfully, this has always been the case. Great teams have always been at the top, while the bad ones rotted at the bottom. Perpetual failure. There's chatter about the same teams always losing, then subsequently selecting in the top 5, but if you were a fan of a team like the Clippers in the 90s, then you're all too familiar with the perpetual loser. The lottery was designed for this exact purpose, to level the playing field. It was a measure added to counter the monopolization of talents by larger organizations. Teams have always sucked, and they will always suck. It's the nature of sports. There is no victory without defeat. The only difference is, now teams lose strategically. Now etiquette should still be applied. Intentionally sitting your best players to the extent the Utah Jazz and other suspects have done should be penalized, since such actions grossly disrupt the fabric of competition. However, tanking does not bastardize nor game the system. The draft lottery is not perfect, but without it, we'd end up with a format where the same teams win the league every single season. The NBA is one of the most competitive sports leagues on the planet, and if the route to the top goes down to the bellows, then take the plunge. Thanks for watching.